know what he's been doing. I'm seeing. All right, well, I want to start off with a word of prayer. Thank you, Father, so much just for this place that we have here. Just the overwhelming peace and serenity we're blessed with. Thank you so much for the worship time we have and for just the power in those words. Just here's my heart, here's my life. I thank you so much for this opportunity to share, and I pray that as I speak tonight, the message that this isn't about suffering, this isn't about hurt, this isn't about pain, this is about hope, and it's about joy. I hope that message just breaks through, and I pray you just help me to just speak to those who need to hear that message tonight. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Well, I'm here to answer the question, why do bad things happen? Now, I gave this message at Ignite last week, and so one of the first things I said is, I don't know if you guys like competition. And what do you know, middle school, everyone just jumps up, oh yeah, I love competition, yeah. So, I'm curious, do you guys like competition? Yeah. I knew it. Come on. I knew you guys weren't going to be very excited. I need 4 volunteers, come on. 2 guys and 2 girls. Okay, you 2? No, not you. Sit down. 2 girls, come on. Okay, 1. Yep, there we go, 2. All right, so 2 guys are just going to stand right here. 2 girls are just going to stand right here. Okay, what you got to do is you guys have all done wall sits before, I'm sure. You know, you sit against the wall. Yeah, what? Yeah, You didn't know what you're getting yourself into, did you? All you have to do is do a wall sit against each other's back. It's not bad, right? Ready? Okay, so get in position. Ready? No, you can't shoot. Just get there you go. Okay, back to back, straight backs against each other. Okay, go. Okay, ready? Nope, you gotta have straight back. You gotta have a straight back against. All right, get back to back. No. I didn't say stop. All right, Jacob, how are you feeling?
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names, but not too bad. Okay. How are you guys doing?
Fall again.
You're gonna fall again? How are you doing? I'm not sure I believe that one, but okay. Back to Jacob. You feeling any like burning in your legs and all?
A little bit.
Little burn? You're lying to my face, I can tell. You 2. I didn't say stop. That's not. You just gotta see how long you can do it. You're terrible with directions. You're still a freshman. I'm sorry, Jacob. Anyways, you felt the pain, right? You felt a little bit of a burn. Were you starting to feel anything? Okay, you were feeling a little bit of a burn. Did you guys feel anything? Because you kind of just sort of fell. Okay. Oh, see, she's done it before, so she wasn't even feeling pain. She was going strong. All right, we can sit down now. Thank you. Give them a round of applause. So, why did I decide to do that? Well, wall sits, unless something is strangely wrong with your head, are not very fun. Does anyone like to do wall sits? They're just, oh, I love wall sits. Lying to my face, Caleb. See, the point of a wall sit, though, is to get stronger. See, your thighs were burning, you're starting to feel it. But like she said, she's done that before. She's done it a lot. And because of that, she's feeling pretty good. She's feeling strong. Now, see, that's the whole point of it. It may hurt while you're doing it. You know, you're trying to stay there, but your legs are saying, no, I don't want to do it anymore. It hurts too much. And then when you stand up, you're like, I feel so much better. The suffering is over. There's a tie-in. You see, we're going to go through a lot of suffering in life. And because we're Christians, that's what's going to happen. We're going to suffer for God. And that discourages a lot of people. But I'm here to tell you that's not the case tonight. You know, bad things are going to happen, and there's going to be a lot of pain. But in the end, you're going to have the greatest peace in the rest of your life. So as I start tonight, I just want to start with talking about what causes suffering. Who has disobeyed their parents? Nathan. There we go. Everyone's disobeyed their parents. And why did you disobey your parents? Because you wanted to. Exactly right. That is the exact answer I was looking for. You see, we disobey our parents because we're sitting on the couch. Yeah, my Netflix show is on. I got some chips, I got a soda, man. My Netflix is just going. I'm just cramming through episodes of your favorite TV show. And your mom says, hey, can you take out the trash for 15 seconds? No. See? Exactly. We don't like to do stuff like that if it's not about us. See, we have a natural evil inside of us. See, when Adam and Eve sinned for the very first time, it's because they wanted to. That was the whole point. See, we bring on our suffering sometimes. It's because we have this desire to satisfy our own wants and own desires in life. Because God doesn't control our lives. He gave us free will. And when we use that free will wrong, that's when we cause suffering. Your mom tells you to take out the trash, and you don't do it. For one reason or the other, you say, nah, that's okay. She might punish you. There might be a consequence for it. She takes away your Netflix. Some of you are going to die inside. Suffering because you made the wrong choice, and you're going to suffer because naturally inside, you just have a natural tendency to do wrong. And then there's another type of suffering, which is actually not suffering. You see, that's called God's discipline, which we mistake for suffering. Because we go through a hard time and we say, this is hard. I don't want to do this. Why am I suffering? And in reality, God's just putting us through something because He wants us to learn something from it. There's a reason we're going through something hard. Because God is our Father in heaven. And when He disciplines us, it's for our own good. Think about your father, or maybe even a coach in a sport. There might be consequences. Your coach might make you run suicides. You know, you're running up and down the lines in basketball. That sucks. That's fun for nobody. Even the fit people are like, oh, this is awful. But as you keep doing them, you get stronger, your endurance gets better. And that's the whole point. He's not disciplining you because He wants you to hurt and wants you to have pain. He's disciplining you because He wants you to get better and stronger. And that's what God does sometimes. And sometimes we say, we're just suffering. Oh, this is terrible. Why am I suffering? And we mistake God's discipline for just outright just being lazy and just not wanting to get through something hard. And see, the whole point of it is God doesn't control us. As I said, He gives us free will. He's not going to purposely make you sin, and He's not going to purposely make you do something good, because He gave us the choice of free will. Now, when it comes to suffering, there is stuff He does about it. Everyone knows the story of the Israelites, right? Back in Egypt, things are going good. No, it's rich here, we're doing great. And then that one Pharaoh guy comes in. Oh, he doesn't like you. The Israelites, he doesn't like you at all. And so what? He enslaves you. And you start to go through a lot of pain and suffering. And you know what? God said, no. Those are my people. Yeah, those are my people. You can't hurt my people. And so He personally steps in and says, here you go, Egypt. Deal with these plagues. And guess what? They gave out. They couldn't take it. God's too powerful. And He's on our side. And so Israel was free. And you might be thinking, oh, that's just Old Testament story. No. God still steps in today and does miracles. There's a story of a man named Randy Galloway. As a teenager, he had a horrible accident, and he should have died. He worked at a manufacturing plant, and one day he was up on this electrical tower way above the building he worked in. And his foreman, being incredibly lazy and just totally incompetent, turns the electricity back on while Randy and his mentor are up there. His mentor is zapped and killed instantly. Randy shocked through his whole body, just electrocuted through his entire body. Loses his grip, falls through the building a good 20, 30 feet below him. He's on fire. He's got electricity coursing through him. And he goes to the hospital after laying there when someone finally discovers what happened. Everyone just writes him off. No, it's not going to happen. He's a goner. But guess what? God stepped in and said, no, he's not a goner. I got plans for this guy. And he saved Randy's life and brought him back. And now, Randy goes around preaching God's word because something horrible happened to Randy, and God stepped in and said, nope, he's got more to do in this world. And he turned his horrible situation around and made it good. But you see, God's not always going to step in. See, if God always steps in, we rely on him for everything, for the simplest of things. And see, that's not what God wants. He wants us to be able to do things ourselves. See, that's why we have each other. You know, he's having a horrible day. This happened and this happened, you know. His MacBook broke. Oh, he'd be crying for weeks. Oh my goodness, I would never hear the end of it. And you know what? That's a horrible thing. That's expensive. And he's going to hurt. And then God's not going to step in and fix his MacBook magically. He's going to send somebody like Mitch. Mitch is going to go to Caleb and say, hey, you know what? That was horrible. But I can help. Let me take you out to ice cream. I'll get you chocolate because that's your favorite flavor. And you know what? Caleb's going to feel better about it. He might not have a MacBook, but he's going to feel better. His suffering is going to end. And obviously that's not crazy, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die situation. But it still happens in this world. Another story is one of my favorite preachers. His name is Reggie Dabbs. I had to do a project on him, and so I looked up his story, and he has one of the most incredible stories of his life, but even his mom has an even crazier story. See, at the age of 15, she already had 4 kids. Single mom, 4 kids. She was so poor, she was living in a chicken coop. So poor. And so when she tried to seek help from the man, it didn't go her way because this man was evil. And she became pregnant with Reggie. This poor lady had no idea what to do. But she remembered her old English teacher, Mrs. Dabbs. She had made her a promise that she would always be there. And so this lady, this poor young girl, hasn't seen her English teacher in years, just calls her up. And this lady, Mrs. Dabbs, feels God saying, go to her. So Mrs. Dabbs gets on an airplane and flies over a couple states even, just to find this girl. She brings this young, terrified 18-year-old in who's pregnant with her 5th child into her own home and takes care of her. See, God could have stepped in and said, you know what, you're going to win the lottery. I'm going to help you win the lottery. But he didn't. He used Mrs. Dabbs in this situation. And Miss Dabbs and her husband took care of this young, terrified girl. And because of it, Reggie was born, and now he goes around preaching his story. And that's God's will. See, that's all easy to understand because it has a happy ending. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. One of the hardest things to understand about suffering is that God's not always going to have it even end. And that's what people don't understand is that's when they start to question God. God, why isn't this ending? This has been going on for months. I'm still hurting. Why did this happen? And you just got to trust God. I have a personal testimony to share. I'm not going to release the names of the people because it's probably very personal and some of you probably know them. But this is the testimony. Several years ago, at the age of 13, I was rafting down a river on tubes with several friends of mine. I was in a group of about 6 kids ahead of a group of about 12. After about 3 hours, we were all about to pull out when I heard someone screaming behind us. I got out of the water and ran up the bank to see what was going on. They were far enough back that when I finally got there, they were pulling him out of the water. What had happened was my best friend Michael had gotten swept underneath the water, and his life jacket got caught in a bush, holding him under the water. By the time they knew what was going on, they couldn't pull him out. And by the time they finally did pull him out, it had been 5 minutes of him under rushing water. When he got to the hospital, the doctors declared him brain dead. And 2 days later, his parents decided to take him off life support. I was devastated. I don't even remember the funeral. It was all such a blur of hurt and pain. My whole body was angry, and I couldn't feel anything. I fought the anger and pain for days, not knowing what to do. But then someone came alongside me and held my hand, telling me that the Lord was there to comfort me and guide me. And I didn't even believe them. I was angry with God for taking away my best friend. But my friend Amy wouldn't leave my side. She guided me to a place of understanding, and understanding that all things happen for a purpose, and the understanding that praising Him amidst suffering was hard, but that I still needed to do it. After that, I slowly began to heal. Something that I took on as a blessing, no longer a curse, was his passing. And even though it still hurts today, I can now look back at Michael as a happy memory, not something that hurts me. A few months back, a young girl was killed in a car accident. She went to my old high school, and one of her best friends used to be my mentor kids when I was a senior. And she came to me in tears the day after it happened. Luckily, I knew exactly how to help her. She sat in my arms, crying out her anger towards God. And I held her and told her it was going to be all right. I told her Michael's story, told her about Amy, and I told her that God was beside her, there to comfort her and help her. I hope it helped her. She never told me if it did or not. But if it did, then I hope she can come alongside someone in a time of desperation and need, and be that support that God allows us to be for each other in times of need, hurt, and desperation. You see, the girl that wrote that testimony, it took her what seemed like forever to heal. Because that's not something you get over, losing your best friend. And like she said, she was angry at God. And she had no idea why. Why would that have happened? Why would He put me through something so hard that would hurt me so bad? And after years of harboring that, and just, even though she began to heal, she still had no idea why it had happened. Until one day, her friend came to her and needed the help that she had received from Amy. You see, God's not always going to take away your suffering. And that's the hard part to understand. But you got to realize that as God's people, He's never going to leave your side. And you know, as I started this with prayer, this is not a message of depression or sadness. This is a message of joy and happiness. And I know that seems just bizarre to come up with, but it's true. You see, Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who've been called according to His purpose. You see, we're all going to go through some sort of suffering, but God's going to use it for so much better. That is the key right there. It may be something small that hurt for a day. It may be something horrible that hurt for years. It might still be hurting. You might still be going through something hard. But I can guarantee you one thing. It's going to help advance God's plan. And someday, it's going to turn out good. And you know what? As Christians, we're going to suffer for our faith. But that's something you need to take joy in. Why? Because you're going to go to heaven for your faith. Think about the most relaxing place you've ever been. It might be a beach. I don't know, it might be your own couch. You are just at peace. You got your favorite drink, you got your favorite food, and you're just reclining there, just... You think that's peaceful? Wait till you get up to heaven. That's going to be the best rest you've ever had in your life. And you know what? It might be hard here. But man, once you get up there, oh, it's going to be the best part of your life. You're going to have so much fun. You're going to be so at peace. And there won't be any more suffering. And even while you're still on earth and you might be going through a hard time, you can know that God's going to use that someday. And it doesn't mean that if you go through something hard, you have to just ignore it and be like, okay, well, it's going to do something good. It's okay to be sad and to be hurt. But just because you're hurt and you're suffering doesn't mean you need to go away from God. You need to realize that He's going to use that. And you need to come to Him and just trust Him. Because God's got this all under control. No matter how difficult or how hard it seems. And remember that God might step in personally to end your suffering. And He might not end it at all. But go and seek help if you need it. Because we're all Christians here. And we're all willing to help each other out. Go to your mentors, go to your friends, go to your parents, whatever it is. Suffering doesn't have to be done alone. And with God on your side, it's not going to be forever. You know, there is evil in this world. We can all acknowledge that. But God is so much more powerful. He is. And so as you guys go tonight, and as you're thinking about what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be suffering, I want you to realize that through all of that, there's joy, and there's peace, and there's happiness at the end. No matter what it is, you're going to be happy you went through it someday. Because whether it builds you up, builds your character up, builds up your experience in life, or just simply helps somebody else out, it's for God's good. And it may seem to last forever, but it's not going to. It might seem like the longest month of your life. It might seem like the longest year of your life. It might seem like the longest school year or longest decade. Whatever the case is, God's going to use it to His plan. And that's all that matters. Because God knows what He's doing. And He's powerful enough to defeat any evil in your life. And with Him on your side, you have no problem. And so as you guys go tonight, please have joy and happiness in your heart. Don't be worried about any hurt. Don't be worried about any suffering you may go through. Be happy and joyous that God's on your side through all of it. Because that's the main point. Thanks for listening, guys. It's time for a small group. So freshmen in the back, sophomores over there, juniors, seniors. Thanks for listening, guys.